Welcome back to our channel.
Welcome. I am Lisa.
And I'm Eric. Do you want to improve your English easily? If so, you're in the right place.
So let's get started and make English easy. So Eric, what are the words today?
The first word today is convenient. Then we will continue with purpose and to wander. Then to come up. And the final one is get back on one's feet.
Okay, Eric. Let's start with the first word.
Today's first word is convenient.
Convenient.
Convenient is an adjective. It means something is easy or makes life simpler, suitable for your needs.
That's right. We use it to describe things that make our lives easier or more comfortable.
Exactly. Let me give an example sentence. The new supermarket is very convenient because it's close to my house. It means that the supermarket is easy to use because it doesn't take much time or effort to get there from the person's house. Now it's your turn, Lisa. Can you give us another example?
Sure. Here's another example. Online shopping is convenient for busy people. It means that online shopping is suitable and easy for people who don't have much time, as they can shop without going to a store.
Yes. So let's talk a little more about convenient. We often use convenient with the word for or to. For example, we say, this tool is convenient for cleaning, or it is convenient to use.
Good point. Now, let's hear a short dialogue using the word convenient.
Emma, what time is convenient for you to meet tomorrow?
How about 3 p.m.? There's a new cafe that just opened near the train station.
That sounds convenient. I can stop by after work.
Perfect. It's really convenient having a cafe so close to public transport.
Absolutely. It's always convenient to have options like that in the city.
That was a good example, Eric. It shows how we use convenient to talk about plans and locations that suit our needs.
Yes, and it also shows that we can use convenient to describe both times and places.
Eric, do you think convenient is more common in formal or informal conversations?
That's a good question, Lisa. I think convenient is pretty neutral. You can use it in both formal and informal situations. For example, you can say, this time is convenient for our meeting in a work setting, or you can say, it's convenient to park here when talking with friends.
I agree. It's one of those words that can be used almost anywhere. And it's really useful because we often talk about things that help us save time or make things easier.
Well, it's useful for describing many situations in modern life. It helps express when something is practical or easy to use.
Exactly. Well, I think we've covered convenient pretty well. Shall we move on to our next word?
Yes, let's do that. Our second word for today is purpose.
Purpose.
Purpose is a noun. It means the reason why you do something or the goal you want to achieve. Let me give you an example sentence. The purpose of this podcast is to help people learn English. This means that we are making this podcast to help people improve their English skills.
It was a fantastic example, Eric. You used the purpose of this podcast in your example.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay. Here's another example. What's the purpose of your visit to Canada? It means that we're asking why someone is going to Canada or what they plan to do there.
Good point, Lisa. It's important to note that we often use purpose with the preposition of. We say the purpose of something.
That's right, Eric. We can also use purpose with to when we talk about intentions. For example, my purpose is to become a teacher. Or our purpose is to help people learn English.
Good point, Lisa. Now, let's listen to a short dialogue using the word purpose.
Hey, Jake. What's the purpose of this meeting?
The purpose is to talk about our next project.
Oh, that makes sense. So, we're here to plan the project?
Yes, exactly. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss the project details.
In this dialogue, Jake explains that the purpose of the meeting is to talk about the next project. This shows how purpose is used to explain the reason for doing something.
Yes, purpose is a useful word when you want to talk about goals or reasons behind actions. So, Lisa, do you think purpose is more formal or informal?
I think purpose can be used in both formal and informal situations. For example, in a formal setting, you might hear, "The purpose of this event is to raise money." But in everyday conversation, you can still use it, like, "The purpose of this trip is to relax."
Yes, I agree. Purpose is very versatile and can fit many situations. It's also a good word to help explain why we do things, so it's useful to know.
That's a good point. Can you think of any similar words to purpose?
Sure, words like goal, aim, or reason can sometimes be used instead of purpose.
Great examples, Eric. I think purpose is a really useful word for our listeners to know. Okay, well, let's move on to our next word.
The next word for today is to wander.
To wander.
To wander means to walk around slowly without a specific direction or reason. Let me give you an example sentence. I like to wander through the park on sunny days. It means that I enjoy walking around the park for no specific reason, just for pleasure.
Here's another example. The lost tourist wandered the streets looking for his hotel. This means that the tourist walked around different streets, was not sure where to go, and was trying to find his hotel.
Good examples, Lisa. We often use wander with prepositions like through, around, or in to describe where the wandering happens. Now, let's listen to a short dialogue using the word wander.
Hey Jack, what did you do on your day off yesterday?
Hi, Emma. I decided to wander around the city center. I had no plans, just wanted to explore.
That sounds nice. Did you find any interesting places while you were wandering?
Yes, I did. I wandered into a small bookshop I'd never seen before. It was lovely.
That was a great example of how to use wander in a conversation.
I agree. So, what do you think about the word wander, Eric? Is it a common word?
I'd say it's fairly common. People often use it when talking about exploring or walking without a specific destination.
That makes sense. Do you think it's a formal or informal word?
I think it's more informal or neutral. You might hear it in everyday conversations, but it's not too casual for most situations.
Good point. I think wander is a useful word for our listeners to know, especially if they like traveling or describing leisurely activities.
Absolutely. Well said, Lisa.
Okay, shall we move on to our next word, Eric?
Yes, let's do that. The next word is to come up.
To come up.
To come up is a phrasal verb. It has several meanings, but we'll focus on two common ones. To happen, usually unexpectedly, and to approach or meet someone. For example, if you have a meeting planned but something unexpected happens, you might say, "Sorry, something came up." Or, for the second meaning, a small child came up and asked me for money.
Yes, we often use it when something unexpected happens.
Let's give some examples to help our listeners understand how to use it better. Here's the first example sentence. Something important came up during our meeting, so we had to end early. It means that something unexpected happened during the meeting, and because of that, they had to finish the meeting earlier than planned.
Great example, Eric. Now, here's another example of the second meaning. My old friend came up to me at the store yesterday. It means that the old friend approached or met the person at the store.
Now, let's practice using it in a short dialogue. Ready, Lisa?
I'm ready.
Hey Sarah, are you ready for the movie tonight?
Oh no, I completely forgot. Something came up at work, and I have to finish a project.
That's too bad. What about the weekend?
Oh, I just remembered. My cousin might come up to visit this weekend.
Really? When did that come up?
She just called an hour ago. Sorry for all the sudden changes.
That was a good example, Lisa. It shows both meanings of come up, unexpected events, and approaching someone.
Yes, and it also shows how common this phrase is in everyday conversation. So, it's clear that come up means something happened that wasn't planned.
Exactly. Come up is often used in casual conversations when we need to explain why we can't do something because of something unexpected.
Okay, now let's talk a bit more about this phrase. Would you say this is a phrasal verb we hear often, Eric?
Oh, definitely. It's quite common. You'll hear it a lot in both casual conversations and at work. It's very common in daily life. We often talk about unexpected events or meeting people. So, come up is really handy.
I agree. It's not very formal, so you wouldn't use it in a business email to a boss, for example. But in conversation, it's very useful.
That's true. Come up is perfect for everyday English. It's simple and clear.
Well, I think we have explained come up pretty well. Let's move on to the last word of today.
The last word today is to get back on one's feet.
To get back on one's feet.
To get back on one's feet is an expression. It means to recover from a difficult situation, especially financial problems or illness, and return to a normal life.
That's right. We use it when someone starts to do well again, after problems.
Here's the first example sentence. After losing his job, John worked hard to get back on his feet. It means that John lost his job, but he is trying to recover from this bad situation. He's working hard to improve his life and return to normal.
Great example, Eric. Here's another one. After the accident, she worked hard to get back on her feet. This means that after the accident, she made a lot of effort to be well, either physically or emotionally, and returned to her normal life.
Yes. Get back on their feet is usually used when someone has a problem and is trying to recover from it. You can use it for health, work, or even money problems.
Now, let's practice using get back on their feet in a short dialogue. Are you ready, Eric?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Hi, Tom. How's your sister doing after her accident?
She's doing better, thanks. The doctors say she's getting back on her feet slowly, but surely.
That's good to hear. Is there anything she needs help with to get back on her feet faster?
Well, she's looking for some part-time work to get back on her feet financially. Do you know of any job openings?
That was a great example of how to use get back on their feet in a conversation.
I agree, Lisa. So, what do you think about this phrase? Is it common?
I'd say it's more informal. You often hear it in casual conversations, like when friends or family are talking about someone's recovery. But I've also heard it in news reports and articles, so it's not too informal. It's very commonly used.
That's true. It's a phrase you'll hear in everyday life, but you can also find it in more serious or professional situations, like when people talk about the economy or businesses recovering.
Yes, I agree. People often face challenges in life, and we all can relate to getting back on our feet. Whether it's health, work, or personal issues, we all have times in our lives when we need to recover and rebuild. So, Eric, what are the words today?
The first word today is odd. Then we will continue with on the rise and to claim, then to put up with, and the final one is make amends.
Okay, let's start with the first word, Eric.
The first word today is odd.
Odd.
Odd is an adjective, and it means something strange, unusual, or different from what you expect. When something feels a bit strange or doesn't seem normal, you can describe it as odd. For example, if you see someone wearing a winter coat in the middle of summer, you might think, "That's odd." Here's an example sentence. Tom was acting odd today. He didn't say hello to anyone. This means that Tom's behavior was strange because he normally talks to everyone, but today he didn't say anything.
Great example, Eric. Here's another one. There was an odd noise coming from the kitchen last night. It means that there was a strange sound that didn't seem normal. It wasn't the kind of sound you usually hear in the kitchen.
Good example, Lisa. Odd is not used for big, shocking events, but more about things that make you stop and think. You might say, like, that's a bit strange.
Exactly. Now, let's hear a short dialogue where odd is used.
Did you notice that odd smell in the hallway this morning?
Yes, it was really odd. I don't know where it came from.
Me neither. But it was strange to smell something like that in our building.
In this conversation, Ben says there was an odd smell in the hallway. That means the smell was unusual and didn't seem normal. Then Sarah agrees that the smell was really odd, meaning she also thought it was strange and unexpected.
Exactly. Odd is common in both formal and informal situations. You can use it with friends when talking about something strange, but you could also hear it in a work setting like an odd problem with the computer.
That's true. It's a flexible word, but it's definitely a little lighter and friendlier than saying something is bizarre or very strange.
Yes, and you can use odd for lots of things. Smells, sounds, or even situations where something just doesn't seem right.
Yes, it is quite common in English, Lisa.
Okay, so that's it for the word odd. Now, let's continue with the second word.
The second word is on the rise.
On the rise.
On the rise is a phrase that means something is increasing or becoming more common. You use it when you want to talk about something that is growing, like prices, popularity, or numbers. For example, if a new technology is becoming popular, you can say, the use of this technology is on the rise. Let's give some example sentences.
Okay, Eric, let's do it.
Here's our first example sentence. Crime in the city is on the rise. It means that crime is increasing and there are more cases of it happening in the city than before.
Good example, Eric. Here's mine. Electric cars are on the rise as more people choose to use them. It means that the number of people buying and using electric cars is growing and they are becoming more popular. And now, let's see how this phrase works in a short conversation. Ready, Eric?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Have you noticed that housing prices are on the rise lately?
Yes, it's getting really expensive to buy a house. Prices have been on the rise for the past few years.
I wonder how high they'll go. It seems like they just keep rising.
In this dialogue, Emily and John are talking about how the prices of houses are on the rise. This means that house prices have been going up and are getting more expensive.
Right. And we can use on the rise for all kinds of things. Prices, popularity, even things like unemployment rates. Basically, anything that's increasing.
Okay, now let's talk a bit more about this phrase. Would you say this is a phrase we hear often, Eric?
Definitely. You hear on the rise all the time because it's easy to use. Whether you're talking about social media trends or something like climate change, on the rise is a great way to describe it.
That's true. It's a very useful phrase in both casual and formal settings. Right, Eric?
Yes. On the rise can be used in both formal and informal situations. You might hear it in the news or a business meeting when talking about trends, but you can also use it in everyday conversations with friends as well.
I agree. So, listeners, if you want to talk about something that's growing or increasing, just say it's on the rise. It's simple and easy to understand. Okay, well, I think we have explained on the rise pretty well. Let's move on to the next word.
Okay, the next word is to claim.
To claim.
To claim is a verb, and it means to say something is true, even if it hasn't been proven yet. People often claim something when they believe something is a fact, even if others don't agree. Let's give some examples to help our followers understand it better. Here's the first example. He claimed he saw a UFO last night. It means that this person said he saw a UFO, but we don't know if it's true or not.
Great example, Eric. Here's another one. He claims to have the best pizza in town. It means that he says his pizza is the best, but we don't know if that's true. It's his opinion, and other people might not agree.
Let's talk about claim. Claim can also be used as a noun, like make a claim, which means to say something is true. It is used as in claim to do something, or claim that something is true.
That's right. And now let's practice using claim in a short conversation. Are you ready, Eric?
Ready as always.
Did you hear about Alex? He claimed he finished the project all by himself.
Really? How can he claim that? He did the project on his own. That's strange because I helped him with it.
It seems like he wants all the credit, but I know you worked hard too.
As you see in the dialogue, claim can often be about situations where someone says something is true, but others might not believe it.
Exactly, Lisa.
Eric, what would you say about the word claim? Do you think claim is a formal or informal word?
I think claim is quite neutral. You can use it in both formal and informal situations. For example, in a news report, you might hear, "The company claims that their product is the best," which sounds formal. But you could also use it in a casual conversation, like, "He claimed he saw a ghost," which is more informal.
I agree. It works in both settings, depending on the situation. Do you think claim is a common word?
Yes, it's a pretty common word. You often hear it in news stories, legal situations, or everyday conversations as well.
So, listeners, if you hear someone claim something, it means they are saying it's true, but it's not always 100% certain. And that wraps up our explanation of today's word claim. I hope our followers understand the meaning of claim well.
I hope so, Lisa.
Okay, let's move on to the next word, Eric.
The next word is put up with.
Put up with.
Put up with is a phrasal verb. It means to tolerate or accept something difficult or annoying without complaining too much. Let me give you an example sentence. I can't put up with this loud noise anymore. It means that I can no longer tolerate or accept the loud noise. It's too annoying for me.
Here's another example. Sarah puts up with a long commute because she loves her job. It means that Sarah tolerates the long journey to work because her job makes it worthwhile.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that put up with is always followed by a noun or a pronoun. For example, I put up with my noisy neighbors, or I put up with it.
Now, let's see how this phrase works in a short dialogue.
How do you put up with the traffic every morning?
It's hard, but I don't have another choice. I have to put up with it to get to work.
I don't think I could put up with that.
In this conversation, Emma asks James how he puts up with the traffic, meaning how he tolerates it every day. James explains that he has no choice. He has to keep up with it.
Put up with is often used in situations where we don't have control over something, but we still have to deal with it. Eric, would you say put up with is more formal or informal?
I'd say it's definitely more informal. You would use it in casual conversations with friends, family, or co-workers, but probably not in a formal situation or writing.
You're spot on. It's a friendly conversational phrase. You wouldn't hear it much in formal writing or business emails, but it's a very practical and common expression.
Yes, definitely. Put up with is a casual, friendly way to say you tolerate something. It's great for everyday situations.
Okay, well, that wraps up our explanation of today's phrase, put up with. Now, it's time to explain the last word of today. What is the last word today, Eric?
The last word is make amends.
Make amends.
Make amends means to do something good to show that you are sorry about something you have done wrong.
Like, it's about taking action to show that you regret what happened and want to make things better.
Exactly, Lisa. Let me give you an example sentence. After forgetting his wife's birthday, John tried to make amends by cooking her a special dinner. It means that John wanted to fix his mistake by doing something nice for his wife.
Here's another example. The company made amends to customers affected by the data problem by offering free services. This means that the company tried to correct its mistake by giving something to the customers that had been harmed.
Good examples, Lisa. It's worth noting that we often use make amends with the preposition for when specifying what we're trying to correct, like make amends for a mistake, or to make amends for the worry I've caused you.
We can also use to when talking about the person we're making amends to, such as make amends to someone.
Now, let's listen to a short dialogue using this phrase.
Hi, Tom. I heard you argued with your brother. How are things now?
Well, I realized I was wrong, so I'll try to make amends by buying tickets for us to see his favorite band next week.
That's a nice gesture. Do you think it'll be enough to make amends?
I think it will be.
That was a great example of how to use make amends in a conversation.
I agree, Lisa. So, what do you think about this phrase? Is it common?
It's not as common as I'm sorry, but you hear it. When people are talking about making up for something they did wrong. It's also used in more serious situations where someone really wants to show that they regret their actions.
That makes sense. Do you think it's a formal or informal phrase?
I'd say it's a little more formal than just saying, I'm sorry. You might hear it in both formal and informal conversations, but it does feel like a slightly more thoughtful way of talking about fixing a problem. For example, in everyday life, people might just say, I want to apologize. But if you say make amends, it sounds like you're really trying to repair the situation.
Good point. Can you think of any similar phrases, Lisa?
Sure. Phrases like apologize, make up for, or set things right can sometimes be used instead of make amends.
Those are great alternatives, Lisa. I think make amends is a useful phrase for our listeners to know. It shows a willingness to take responsibility and fix problems.
Absolutely, Eric. Okay, well, I think we've covered make amends pretty well and reached the end of our podcast today as well.
I think so, Lisa.
We hope you found the words helpful and the explanations easy to understand.
Thanks for listening. Keep practicing your English
and stay tuned. Bye for now.